Over to you, Noorulain.
Hello, thank you so much, Sarah, for the introduction. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Good evening. We are back again with yet another panel discussion, which is on leveraging transformation. And I'm so excited to be a part of this Global Digital Summit. We are, I think, clocking on the 4th day now, which is quite a feat, and it's a learning experience that is extended to audiences all across the globe, which is superb. And what is also interesting is that because we are talking about digitalization, because we are talking about remotely accessing each individual anywhere across the globe, and the learning goes beyond as well. So really excited that these 4 days have been exciting. I've done one more panel discussion earlier as well, which was on cloud technology, but I'm really looking forward to this, esteemed panel that we have today, and I'll be introducing all of you shortly as well. So my name is Noorulain. I'm the head of Career Development Center at the Millennium Universal College. I'm leading their portfolio for career development across Pakistan. And we're joined again by yet another stellar panel. So Shahryat is here, Shahryat Brohi, the CEO of Brohi Farms. How are you, Shahryat?
Assalamu alaikum, Gino. I'm good, thank you very much. And yourself?
Great, thank you. I'm fine too. So we'll also do a sound check when I'm making introductions, so that all the people who are joining us online, if they have any questions, queries, they could use the chat box on any of the social media platforms, and the team can kindly get us back with any questions that we have. Next up, I'm joined by Sajjad Ahmed, who's the CIO at International SOS UK. Hi, Sajjad, how are you?
Hi, Noor, I'm very well, thank you. And thank you for allowing me to join.
Yes, we are equally excited. Thank you so much. We are joined by Ammar, who is the CEO and founder of FinalRentals, and he's joining us from UAE. Hi, Ammar.
Hi, Noor. Yes, I'm good. Thank you very much. By the way, I'm right now in Poland. It's freezing cold in here.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, it seems like a similar weather where you and Sajjad are. Yeah, I could see that there's a lot of white in the background. So all the best with that. And then I see two more speakers, but if the team can confirm to me if they're joining us, Ibrahim and Yousaf, would they be joining us, or should we carry on?
I think we should. Sorry, I'm just on behalf of Ibrahim. I think we should carry on. He's stuck in another meeting, so maybe a little late.
Excellent. Sure, no worries. All right, they'll be joining us later, but let us start off with this discussion. So, gentlemen, a lot of talk around transformation, a lot of talk around the fact that we were thrown into this pandemic mode at the blink of an eye, and the whole world was actually at the brink where we had to transform, and we had to transform very quickly. I think a lot of the researches in which we see that, technology was always on the mandate of all organizations, big or small, startups, big multinationals. Technology was always there as a mandate. However, we were looking at perhaps 8 to 10 years in the future, and a strategy document that was saying, all right, by 2030, we'll be able to achieve this. By 2040, we'll be able to achieve this. However, what happened the last 2 years was that we were thrown into this pit where there was no other way out but technology. The greater adaptation, the transformation of our processes, everything became about, transforming. So I'm going to put up the first question, and Sajjad, I'd like you to go first on this, is that how have companies the last 2 years post-pandemic, how have they started off on this journey of digital transformation? Was it about strategy? Was it about structure? Was it about processes? Was it about people? Or was it about just plain implementation of technology?
That's a good question, Noor. And I think digital strategy is a big field, right? So if you look in the last 2 years, companies were forced to transform. Traditionally, implementing any kind of change is a real struggle. If you look at examples, I mean, I can cite you, I won't mention company names, but there's examples of companies that are taking years and years to implement something like Teams. When the pandemic hits, it's a question of survival. So the change management and that resistance change that you get goes out of the window. and so you're forced to change. So I think it was more of a change of, it was a more of case of change if you're going to survive. If you don't change, you're not going to survive, and that's what's led many of the organizations to change so rapidly throughout the pandemic and stay alive, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was just about forcing. And great. So Mohammad is also joining us. Hi, Mohammad. How are you? You're muted, so you'll have to unmute yourself.
There we go. Sorry. Like Sajjad said, I'm not very good on tech. But yeah, thank you for having me. It's good to be a part here with you guys.
Yeah, great. No, we're equally excited to hear from you as well. Ibrahim Mohammad, ladies and gentlemen, the founder at 1 Gram and the CEO of Gold Card UK. So all of you are in like freezing temperatures today. Shahryat, what part of the world are you in?
I'm in Nawabshah, Sindh.
Oh, okay. So you cannot relate with the kind of polo necks that you're all wearing.
Definitely not. But the thing is that I've lived in UK and I know how is it like there during winter, during this time.
Great.
But here in right now, Nawabshah is the coldest place in Sindh right now because it's a very dry area, so it's extremely. For us, it is cold actually. For us,
that's very heartening. That's very heartening to know. And I'm also joined with Yousaf Rizvi. I know Yousaf turned down his camera as well. So Yousaf, assalamu alaikum. How are you? He is the CEO and founder of Checkin Pakistan.
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, I'm just trying to sort out the camera. I think there's something. Now I'm back. I think I look just like Hulk, but I think something wrong with the camera. I think it'll be fixed in a few minutes.
No worries, no worries.
But you can hear me. So
yeah,
I'd like to say assalamu alaikum and hello to everyone here.
Great, thank you so much for joining. So I'm gonna put the same question which I did to Sajjad. Ammar, let me move on to you next. What do you think is the most important factor? Is it the strategy? Is it the structure? Is it the processes? People, technology. I think all of these 5 elements are the 5 must-haves when we speak about transformation. Which do you think is the most important, Ammar?
I think as a startup, the biggest change that happened, in the last 2 years is that how we deal with our people and how we motivate them when they are working remotely, right? Because it's easy, when you're working in the same roof and you are talking with each other all the time. And so how do we motivate our people when they're working remotely, right? I think we have a bigger role to play as CEOs to motivate our team remotely, right? And the other thing is how do you build a process and community of practice around when you have these remote teams, and how do you measure success, productivity, and efficiency? So I think people together, when they work together remotely, I think they have a bigger role to play in terms of collaboration, in terms of interaction. And we as leaders must understand how we can motivate the remote teams. I think that's the biggest challenge at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in all of our discussions, even the last 4 days that we have been having on various different topics in area, Shahryat, I'm going to move on to you now. We all thought that remote was something which was as an excuse of skiving off of work. Now that we have had teams who have actually worked in a remote setting for, let's say, a year and a half. Now the biggest challenge that organizations are facing is how to get these people back. So Shahryat, what is working at Brohi Farms? Do we have like a larger audience that are remote working, or is everybody back to work? Has it been a challenge that you have faced with your organization?
Not really at all, because here at Brohi Farm, these are my ancestral lands. So I have my own people. The main thing during pandemic, since I started this startup from 2019. So what happened that the best part happened to people over here was they got employed. And since they live in the same vicinity, so there was no remote working. My people work in the field. I usually implement drip irrigation system and and grow vegetables in tunnel farming and all, and then make value-added products from my same produce in Karachi. I get those things done in Karachi. So there was no such remote working for us basically. So people were from the same area, lands were there, they were always there, and I managed to come here, spend time here with my people for like 10 to 12 days every month at least.
Right.
So it was not a problem for us. Yeah.
It wasn't that big a problem.
No,
but
not a problem.
yeah, but Ibrahim, if I was to ask you the same question, is it a similar scenario, or are we, when we're talking about global transformation and we're talking about, you know, just changes in cultures, the changes in how organizations are actually responding to remote working, is it a similar practice with your organization as well?
Well, I mean, it's different for us because we're in the fintech space. So the fintech space, developers, programmers typically like to work unsocial hours, 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock. You know, these guys wake up late, they work late. And typically it's remote. You know, we have teams in Canada, in Slovakia, in Hungary, in Hong Kong. So for us, it works. The biggest challenge for someone like me is that I'm used to traveling every 2 weeks, and I haven't traveled for about a year and a half. And I think although we're innovating in business, it's almost a little bit of old school thinking where, you know, when you sit around a table with people face to face and you have that interaction and it's not just where the Zoom camera's on, it's when you have lunch and in the evening and you have dinner and you connect, that connection gets lost. And I think that is the challenge in this transformation process, that how do we keep a link? How do we create those bonds that we have when we do face-to-face thing? I mean, managing staff and stuff for us is quite simple. You know, I think it's easier if it's remotely. You're kind of relying on them to work from their own capabilities, which a lot of our sector has anyway. But I think the challenge for me, what is the face-to-face meeting, them interactions, creating that link and bond with people, that it's hard to do through Zoom.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you know, Ibrahim, with that approach then, you know, in a lot of the discussions that have then taken place the last 2 years is that organizations have had to restructure the entire way in which they have worked. Has it really been more about the adoption of technologies, or has it been more about changing the way your managers, your leaders are working? Yousaf, what do you think? What has been the bigger challenge? Changing the mindset of how the management has evolved, or just getting the technology embedded into the organization?
Actually, that's a very good question, because we've seen a share of both. In terms of travel, what we try to do is just to digitize travel. So in terms, when we have a business of travel since at least 30, 40 years. So we're trying to move these people to consider digital or to look at online sales. You see that people who are much older than you, at least 20, 30 years even older than you, they have this resistance to change. They don't want that process to be digitized. They feel that you might be finding a solution out of them, or finding a way where you won't be using them anymore. So there is, and then you have to just start to tell them that this will just increase their sphere of business rather than affecting you. And you have to be able to accept change in whatever way it comes, but your expertise and your experience will always remain. So it took us a lot of time for even the staff to get used to it, because whenever there was some online bookings on Checkin.pk, they used to get worried about it, or never used to try to avoid it, or never used to answer them. So we had to face that sort of problem. But I think it only with time you'll be able to relax, or especially when you're talking to people who are much senior than you.
Yeah, absolutely. And yes, that's spot on. I mean, whichever place we are reading about it, be it HBR, be it Forbes, be it you know, any university journal or anything, I think the greatest risk that they've said to transformation is the fact that there is resistance to change. Sajjad, did you face that in your organization? And if you could give us a little bit of debrief, and what has been the biggest low-hanging fruit for you in terms of digital transformation?
I mean, it's definitely a problem. Adoption, change management, changing people's mindset is definitely a problem. But I think the key thing you have to remember is technology is just an enabler. The mindset has to change at the management level. It's got to be at the most senior level. You've got a business strategy. Technology, all that does is enables it. If you sort of expect that you'll get a piece of technology and it'll transform your business, then you're going to have a very expensive problem on your hands, because it doesn't work like that. Of course, the way that we approach technology change is we establish the change management program first. First what it is that we're trying to achieve, and the four pillars. The four pillars of transformation. First of all is revenue. Why are you changing? You're changing because you want more revenue. Number two is customer satisfaction. You want to retain your clients. You want renewals. So you want to retain that existing revenue that you've got. Number three is efficiency. You cut your costs. You do things. You lower your operating costs. You want to do the same thing at a much lower cost. And the fourth one is your people. You want a better user experience. You want to retain talent. These are the sort of key things. Once you've identified these and what are the measures that you will lead you to success, you've then got to develop a plan for communication and take people through that journey. And urgency, like the pandemic, I take absolutely Mr. Yousaf's point that the people are very resistant. People do not like change. Your best employee for something will become your worst employee when you make a change. It's just one of those things. So you got to take them through that. When you create an urgency, the pandemic created an urgency. So as I was saying earlier, when that agency came, things that we were struggling to do for years, we did them in hours. In the Philippines, we got people remote working. We were trying to do this for a couple of years. And we had, I think in Philippines, we had less than a weekend. I think Thursday and then Saturday, the pandemic, the lockdown was kicking in, very strict lockdown. And in that sort of 48 hours, 24 hours, people were working from home successfully. India, it took us 3 hours. So that urgency is what makes people make that change. Change management, that mindset change to make sure that whatever you're implementing is absolutely critical. And if you don't spend time on that, as I said, you have a very expensive mistake on your hands.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess we generally also saw, Sajjad, a general level of resilience also that people showed towards, just adopting, just evolving. And I'm so glad that we're getting different perspectives from, all across the globe, because you're working in remote markets as well. And it was already a model for all of you who were here and working. I think Shahryat would have a completely different perspective on this, because we weren't ready. There was a lot of in Pakistan, if I speak specifically about the fact that the entire middle tier of jobs was literally vanished. Day-to-day wages were literally not there anymore. They had to struggle to make ends meet, and we were talking about the social protection net. We don't have any. So where do we go? Where do we go as a nation on that? Shahryat, what were the local interventions? Because you're representing an organization that's very entrenched into the local Pakistani environment and system. Were there any layoffs? Were we able to adapt? Were we able to absorb the shock that it took us to give these, day wages or these weekly wages their due share?
No, not at all. I must say that actually it increased the employability among the people at my lands. So the youth aging between 16, 17 to 24 who were not working anywhere because there were no jobs out there. Since I started a new thing completely, Yousaf exactly rightly said that people don't adapt change because they were used to of conventional agriculture systems, and I was deploying some machinery, some mechatronics stuff, some mechanism to run an agriculture farm on a push of a button. So in the beginning, it was difficult for them to adapt this change, but as the time passes by, I managed to train a lot of boys from here in this age bracket, and what they did was they managed to get jobs when I did not have any opportunity for them, the other people who were doing the same thing, who followed my footsteps or someone else's in the province, they managed to get jobs over there. So I have been fortunate enough to train people in this area of Nawab Shah on running a drip irrigation, on deploying a drip irrigation system, deploying tunnels, everything, right from the scratch. So it didn't affect us like that, but the best thing was that employability was generated. More people were employed. They knew, now they know how to go about it. If they don't have a bigger piece of land, they can always go with a smaller piece of land by growing vegetables and crops using these things. It has made their life easier basically.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
So there were no layoffs, of course.
Great. No, so that's, just giving all of us a different perspective.
Exactly. And secondly, when I started developing, producing these value-added products from my own harvest, that generated employability in Karachi at the people who were at my home chef's facility. So people were getting business for this as well. Plus, I was generating employability in my area as well. So it was a win-win situation for myself. For me, it is a win-win situation. It doesn't affect us much.
Yeah, so great. I mean, and I think that's also substantiates this, and it becomes like a myth buster for this particular notion that, if you have to find out an opportunity in adversity, then that was exactly what, all of us faced. Ammar, what about you? Because, already in a fintech based business, were you as a CEO cognizant of the fact that, maybe we need to open more avenues for revenue generation? Were there any more verticals that actually popped out of your startup as well? Or did you just stick with what was on the chart all along?
So I think COVID has been, a blessing in disguise, for the industry that we work in, that is car rentals, because I have always been talking about that locations are irrelevant. When it comes to car rentals, we should deliver the cars to the homes, to the hotels, to the places, where people book the cars, because you spend a lot of money, having all those locations, all those resources. Why not, have this last mile delivery option also for car rentals? So COVID has been the enabler of that, and a lot of car rental companies who were spoken earlier also, that they don't want to adapt to this new normal. For example, they want to have those locations, they want to run the way it has been running in the last, since last 100 years. So COVID has been, a blessing in disguise in terms of delivering the cars, just like food, right? So people who are booking the cars, they get the cars at their location. So we have been able to enable that, working with our suppliers as a marketplace. Another thing that happened, with COVID is that we sort of understood that we were working, when you're working in Dubai, for example, Dubai is a small market, right? And then when you look at the global scale, you think about how you want to expand, right? So we expanded in more than 8 countries in the last 2 years, in comparison to the pre-COVID era, where we were just working in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and in Northern Emirates. So COVID has been a blessing in disguise in using our technology, how we can grow as a global brand. Another challenge now that we are facing is that because people are now getting vaccinated and they are now feeling that the fear of COVID is let's say fading away. People understand that yes, it is something that is there, and I might get it, or someone might get it, even if they are vaccinated, but the fear is sort of fading away. So now what I see is a lot of offices, they are now coming back to the pre-COVID era. I will use the word untransformed era, for example. I think we must, stop that. We cannot do the de-transformation. Let's continue with the, procedures, where the paper-based work came to the PDF-based work. Let's continue with that PDF-based work, and let's, improve that, instead of going to the de-transformation. As I see, a lot of companies, they are now going back to the to the, let's say, pre-COVID era. So I think we have to, we as tech, let's say, enablers, we must educate the people that now let's move forward with it, and let's see how it goes.
Sorry, yeah, that's a great perspective. I love the fact how you've put it that, let's go on the pre-transformation area. And, it will actually be really about taking a step backward. And which brings me back to this point as well. I think 2 years back, November 2020, when November 19, rather, when everybody was talking about and there was this general fear. And most organizations that I was in touch with, they thought about, okay, what should be our approach? Should we make transformation a decision which is spread all across the organization, enterprise wide, or do we take baby steps to get where we are? Mohammad, what do you think is the right approach? We've seen it, we've practiced it. Was it just like pulling the bandage off one all of a sudden, or do we go easy and slow and take baby steps?
Well, I think it depends on your business. I think it depends on your mindset. I think it depends on the team you have. Sometimes if you pull a bandage off and it's a jugular vein, you're going to kill the individual, which happens in these, like Ammar just said, you want to go forward, you want to progress, but then Sajjad also said earlier that you've got to plan it and you've got to understand why you're doing it, right? You can't just say, oh, well, everyone's doing it, well, let me do it, and you have no strategy and you say, well, we're going digital. But what does that mean? What does digital mean for you as a business? And I think that those are like the important things that when you identify, I mean, for me, for my business, we've gone into a new kind of business division because of COVID. Obviously we're a cryptocurrency and we did whatever we did in 2017 in terms of innovation and creating the Islamic fintech space. But in this time, what we've realized, we found an opportunity to launch digital payments. Now, you would think that a country like the UK, which has been a leader in, it's considered a financial hub, right? They are so far behind. I mean, what we're, Sajjad is working with us on this, and that's why he's laughing, is because WeChat has been in China and Alipay has been in China, and they're billion-dollar businesses. I remember Fawad Chaudhry said a couple of years ago that we want to bring WePay kind of thing into Pakistan, right? Pakistan can have that ambition because it's considered an emerging country. A place like UK, which is considered a financial hub, doesn't have it. People still use cash. They still rely on cash. The backbone of British business is your 1, 2, 3 man type of businesses. That is the majority of businesses. That there's only the 5%, the big globals, yeah? Otherwise, and these guys all rely on cash. So for this digital transformation of COVID, it made it much easier because we were thinking that we need a 3, 4, 5 million pound marketing budget to educate people about what cashless payments are. And then COVID came and the government marketed for us. So, we've saved a huge marketing budget and having to educate people. But even today, with all this kind of digital that's happening, it's a slow process. Like, WhatsApp's been around for 5-7 years. My dad is just in his 64th year of life, has started to use it, and he's starting to use things. So they're catching up. But if, for example, businesses speed up that process, and like Sajjad and Ammar said, that if they do it in the right way and in a positive way, and that can only be judged depending on what your team is, and what, first of all, you're the leader, it's your mindset, and you've got to know that, like my dad always says to me that the 5 fingers on the hand are different, right? We might all look the same, but we're all different in what we understand and comprehend. So if we phase it in the right way, it works. I've got people in my team I know that are so stubborn to change, and we're having to do it slowly. And then we've got guys that are so far ahead. They just love this whole digital working, log on from home in their pajamas, but they're working and they're productive. They want to sit in their pajamas. I don't really care. If I'm getting what I want, God bless your silk pajamas.
And to that point, Noor, if I may.
So yes, please. I was coming around to you.
to that point on adoption, right? It's and I think Yousaf was saying earlier on about the older people adopting to change. One of the learnings that we had, again, I've got a global team. Ibrahim and I are working on the fintech space in Pakistan through OGPay. And one of the things that we've found is that one is there's a willingness, at least for the older generation, to change, although they don't want to change. But what we found with the millennials, we always thought these millennials are super smart. They're extremely tech savvy. And when we had these millennials working from home, and what we found was that actually they're not as smart as we thought. Some of them, to be honest, and I'm talking places like London, I'm talking the US, I'm talking Singapore, Singapore not so much, I'm talking China. And one of the things we found was that some of them didn't even have Wi-Fi at home. And when we sort of encouraged them to go and get the broadband connections, they didn't know how to go and get them. So this is something that we have to think about in terms of adoption, digital adoption, because the way that these mindsets of these younger people work is totally different to how our mindsets work. So you can get them onto your platform, but if your platform is not perfect, they will go and they will not come back. So the speed at which you do digital transformation, and your example of pulling out that Band-Aid, you've got to be very careful. You've got to have done an awful lot of homework to make sure that you're actually going to get that adoption. Because if you don't, you're not likely to get that customer back again. You've got that one chance and it's gone. So you can then sort of take that approach of testing the markets before you fully do a rollout.
Yeah, I think that's a great approach, and I think we've seen something similar here in Pakistan as well, Sajjad, and that has been, if I was to ask each one of you that which has been the biggest sector that has actually benefited and taken the opportunity out of COVID and then put those best practices into place, you'd be surprised that in Pakistan we've had the Karyana stores, the local grocery stores actually take up digitalization, and for them digital transformation was using their smartphones well, making sure that they're taking orders on WhatsApp. So for them, the level of digital transformation is that they're going from a face-to-face, visit of a person to their shops, and then just taking their orders on WhatsApp. And it has then given rise to startups like Airlift in Pakistan, the Grocer app in Pakistan, that have actually come up with these technology-based, tech-enabled. And I completely agree with what Mohammad was also saying, that the greater adopters of those have been, people in the 60s, 70s who have actually seen the value in that. So I'll go around the room and I want all of you to, just let me know your most favorite, industry or a startup that have actually championed digital transformation in your eyes, something which has really attracted you the last 2 years, an organization, a startup, any small person who has actually taken technology closer to their heart and then put it in implementation. So Yousaf, if you don't mind, I'll start off with you and then we'll go around the virtual room and see what other examples do you have.
So I would say, frankly, there's a company absolutely brilliant. It's called Checkin Pakistan, doing wonderful work in these times when the travel industry is completely down and out, and Checkin.pk is trying to come back and provide the product that they're looking at. I'm joking. Not just, it's what we were saying just now. I think it's not just one company. What I feel is that because of the change in this current situation, people have innovated in terms of whatever business that they wanted to do. Even if it was a Karyana store, they wanted to innovate. They innovated through WhatsApp, or they eventually made an app. You see a lot of even food businesses who were against Food Panda, and they were not willing to pay that huge amount of fee. They started building their own apps and giving discounts on their own apps. So the digitization has happened massively across every avenue where businesses have tried to benefit directly from it and get that sale, be competitive in the market. And that is what is brilliant all about it. So you see, there are a lot of different areas where I see a lot of companies who've come up. If you're talking about fintech, there have been some excellent companies. I've just met this company called KissPay, which I think is an absolute wonderful idea for making payments in installments. If you talk about what I foresee, companies should come in and the government should allow as cryptocurrency. I think it's an absolutely amazing opportunity for which Pakistan should benefit from. But I think there's such digitization which has happened in hyper speed that you see companies popping up right, left, and center, and these companies raising money. I know some companies, for example, in the pharmaceutical business, pharmacy delivery services, and then providing on doctor services in health, which obviously benefited a lot. This whole industry benefited a lot during COVID. So I think it'll just be a lot of options now available for people to choose from.
Yeah, absolutely. Ammar, would you like to go next? Your favorite pick?
Right. So there are two things. First is, no matter how conservative or forward-thinking a company was, they have gone through some digital transformation. It can be less or more, but they have gone through something, yeah, which is great. Second thing that I see, the rise in quick commerce. Right? Companies like Carrefour, Lulu, they always used to have the best deals in store, right? But when I was living in Dubai in the COVID times, I realized that, wow, Carrefour is now offering the same thing, the same offers also in their app and also online, and same with Lulu. So a person got access to all those deals, all those bargains, even on the app or on the web. I think the rise of quick commerce has been fantastic, and all these companies like Carrefour, Lulu, and others, they have struggled in the in the beginning, in the early days of COVID-19, but they have fixed it. So the delivery was done in 40 minutes, 60 minutes. I think that was something that was really amazing, and really I see that happening also now in in Poland. I'm sure in UK as well. So the rise of quick commerce is really interesting.
Great, Sajjad.
I think two, actually. One is, I'd say, you probably laugh, but I think the SECP, I think they've done quite a good job. I knew you would laugh. And the reason I say that is that, we sat here in the UK and we opened a company in Pakistan. And you've got all these things, that, the bureaucratic processes, the team, and you call them up for help, in my experience, were actually excellent. So I think I have to say that I quite admired that.
Were you able to open that company in the 4 hours, which is
not the 4 hours?
No,
not the 4 hours. Considerably.
That is the
considerably. When I started out, I didn't have any white hair. I'm actually only 22 years old.
Same here.
So it took a long time.
Same here, Sajjad.
But it was doable, and I was quite. I was particularly impressed with the people. When I called up for support, they were responsive, and I have to give credit. There's a lot of work for them to do. I think the will at the top is probably just not there. But the fact that we could do it, I think, is even though it took months and months and months, but it's good. And I think the second thing that I actually admire, and again, I'm not looking at startups now, is the Dubai government. What Dubai government enable you to do on their apps, I think, is remarkable. You can do your car renewals, you can do your visas, you can pay your bills, your parking fines, everything is on the app, and I think that's something that's really actually fantastic, and I think is the way forward. I think that's my two picks.
So I think the PM's ease of doing business is live now. I always thought that there'll be a day when we can open a company in Pakistan online. So glad to know that is happening. So the ease of doing business 1.0 is still live. Let's see what's next.
Yeah, but it's not 4 hours just because.
Yes, and I would.
But it's doable.
I would strongly suggest to all of you, as a woman who's also an entrepreneur, I did hold those 4 hours very close to my heart, and I did spend numerous hours at the SECP office struggling, because I refused to hire a consultant to do this for me. We
took the same approach. We're with you. We didn't want a consultant, and we're happy that we did it.
Yeah, I'm also very happy.
We're slowly getting there. We're slowly getting there.
Yes, very slowly, but yes, but I'll make sure I take Sajjad's applause back to them here locally as well. Shahryat, what about you? Which startup do you think is your favorite? Somebody who's done remarkably well in technology.
I think which has made my life easier is Airlift. With me being here, they have taken care of the groceries at home, so I don't have to worry about that. They are doing pretty well, and that's what my wife used that app for groceries and everything, and at least I don't get any tension that this is not available here or that is not available there. She gets whatever she wants. So for me, they are a savior. My life is saved because of them. So yeah, it's good.
Great. Ibrahim, your two picks.
Well, obviously, I'm my own greatest fan. So one will be OGPay, which we're going to bring to Pakistan. I think it's going to change a lot of lives. Because the leaders are Sajjad on this, and he is an absolute professional and very meticulous. So I don't want to do a self pitch here, but I think hopefully, inshallah, in the next year, you'll see what that kind of transformation is going to bring. But I want to flip your question a little bit. I think that there's only a 1% utilization of this opportunity that we are being faced with, right? I mean, yeah, there are some great companies out there, but I mean, it's so rare. And this is, I've done this speech 2 years ago, and we are in the 5th industrial revolution, which is fintech, digital space. And it's the one platform and the one time I consider myself a Pakistani first and foremost, right? So I would like to say that we have the opportunity within Pakistan and the other emerging countries where we could take a level platform and a level playing field with the rest of the world, these so-called superpowers and emerging financial markets, right? And we're absolutely blowing it. So one of the things that I would like to say, flipping your question, is that we need to get more and more talent. There is an amazing fintech talent in Pakistan. The local people, I'm talking about, chaiwalas and the guys serving food knew what cryptocurrency was 3 years ago, what banks were talking and paying millions to advisors to tell them what cryptocurrency was. The population on the ground level knew what it was. And without doing a political rant here, I think we're missing a huge opportunity. Yousaf said it earlier, cryptocurrency is something, I remember, I think it was about 2-3 years ago, I was invited to talk about crypto after what we did with 1 gram, because we went very viral, very global. And the day after I did the talk show, State Bank announced that it was illegal. And I think these are just things that we should address. And I think if we as CEOs and leaders and encourage the youth to pick up and innovate. Listen, I was scared. 3 years ago when I launched, or 4 years ago when I launched a cryptocurrency in Dubai, claiming Islamic fintech, I thought the next day's headlines was going to be terrorist coin comes into the market, right? Which was a general natural fear. And on top of that, it was considered a gray area in those years. And I thought, how would it impact my business? But we have to eradicate fear and we have to move for innovation. And I think we should lead and push innovation. And I think these kind of summits are so good, where we need to let the entrepreneurs know that don't be scared to innovate and push forward. And that's my 2 picks.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And I think this also sums up and sets the ground, Mohammad, what I was trying to say for, all of your final comments. We do understand that, there are going to be lots of different kinds of challenges. I think, Sajjad, what you had mentioned, I noted it down, and I think it's the right time where we should reiterate this as well, that, you gave us a 4-pillared approach to the entire transformation, you can say, matrix, and it's about revenue, it's about customer satisfaction, reducing your cost, and then focusing on your people. How do you think in your respective areas, do we overcome the challenges that are going to come from digital transformation? We do know for a fact, what Ammar was also saying earlier, was that it's not going to be about, going back on square one now that things are getting normal. We should be stepping ahead, taking a step forward, rather than, putting ourselves 5 steps backward. How do we overcome or foresee these challenges? Because, there's greater talk about now, adopting technologies on data science. We have to be more cognizant of artificial intelligence. We have to create those UX, UI experiences for our customers as well. We have to focus on satisfaction as well. We have to ensure that our people, different ages, stakeholder groups, everybody is evolving with us. So looking at these whole plethora of challenges, how do we sort it? Is there a ruled approach which we could take as individuals who are leading organizations to solve these problems, or be proactive about them, or think about what we could possibly do? Sajjad, I'll make you go next, first.
I think the technology actually represents an opportunity for us, because you talk about AI and bots and things like that, and they're fantastic. But I think the key to success is always that the technology is an enabler. You have to own the transformation. What do you want as a business? What do you want to achieve? And then you've got to be very careful about which technologies you select. And I think one of the areas that you didn't mention there, which I think is very key, and we need to become more and more cognizant of. And I think, and I don't know how much Pakistan is putting attention to this, but certainly something that I'm trying to sort of get the conversation going is privacy, individuals' privacy. That is a very, very important topic in today's world. When you use the likes of Google's, they know everything about you, right? They know if you're sitting, they know if you're standing, they know if you took a taxi, they know if you've gone on a bus, they know if you took your own car. That is an immense level of detail. And I think we just have to be very careful. And I don't see a framework in Pakistan that deals with protecting people's privacy. And I think, it's not going to be very long before people start to realize what's happening with their data. So these kind of things can backfire. And I guess in short, the answer to your question is that, technology is a minefield. Consultants, vendors will tell you how fantastic their technology is. And the second that you start to use it, you realize that actually they told you a tiny little bit. There's a whole immense amount of things that you have to do. They're very complicated, they're very expensive, and you're not in control anymore. You lose control very quickly. So when you sort of approach transformation, digital transformation, you have to think about it from a business perspective first. You need to own that technology, that transformation. You have to know what you want to get, and technology is just your enabler, and you've got to enable it. You've got to take that ownership from the top. It can't be something that you leave to your sort of soldiers at the bottom to implement. It's got to come from the top.
Yeah, no, I think great 2 cents. And yes, I completely agree, because, there's very less to nil talk around the GDPR regimes as well. We did have a little bit of discussion in our previous session as well on this.
And I think that, sorry to interrupt you, I think that is a topic that should start to become on top of the agenda, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yousaf, what do you think? How do we overcome the challenges that the transformation would bring?
I would say that the transformation itself, because as I mentioned, it's change. If in terms of, you'll have to look at it every level. If you talk about the organization level, there are changes which obviously takes time, even if it's based on certain businesses who have to face certain legislation against them, and that change has to start by educating people. If you fear something, the biggest problem, I would say, and as Sajjad mentioned that his hair had gone white while working with the SCP. Look at me, I'm all white, absolutely. So my hair are already white working in Pakistan. But it's just educating people on what change can bring and what is the benefits of it, and not just shying away from something if you don't understand. But that is a phenomenon which is affected by people anywhere in the world. It does not mean that it is effective in Pakistan and not effective anywhere else. So it's everywhere. And so as I mentioned when we were discussing about the cryptocurrency part, there's a general norm in the Pakistani, because the legislation is, and all of these business processes are usually done by people who are bureaucrats who now in their 50s are about to retire, maybe nearly in the 60s, approaching 60s. So these people, when you try to educate them about something, they just don't care or don't bother, because it's not something that they have worked on for the past so many years. But that does not mean that they're not educated, because they've gone through the process. So they're educated, but they just don't care about these things also. So it's our generation who needs to make sure that we get that message across, and make sure that we tell them the benefits that it can bring, hit the right channels. I'll just give you quickly, tell you a small example. I'm currently the vice chairman of the Travel Agents Association of Pakistan. And there was, because of what COVID has affected us in terms of how businesses have been affected. So we approached the government. They had raised licensing fee and guarantee fees on travel businesses in Pakistan, specifically in Punjab and nowhere other else. So we went to the government, we told them, we cruised all the right areas. Now today what I'm doing is, because they will apply this from the 1st of December, I met the president of the Lahore Chamber of Commerce day before yesterday. He supported our cause. He said he wrote a letter also about it. But eventually what we decided to do was go to court. And tomorrow morning we're submitting a writ petition in the High Court where we'll, and I'm very hopeful that we'll get a stay order on this because this is unrealistic. So these are the few things that people, which we face in businesses here. We try to tell them, we try to educate them about the things that are the future Pakistan should be looking at. And if we do that, I'm very hopeful that Pakistan will be able to get out of these other problems that come along with it. So that's the
yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you, and thank you so much, Yousaf, for mentioning this, that there's a need for, you know, just wider awareness of this. Sadly, if I was to quote you as a parent, the single national curriculum in the country speaks about an ICT technology book and still explains to our children what does the CPU mean and what did a floppy disk look like. So you know,
history,
if you're talking about
it's actually more about teaching them history.
If you're talking
not
about
the future, history.
If you're talking about looking at all of the puzzle pieces together, and you know, it has to start from on ground. We cannot just shove under the table that our next customers who are going to use our products are not only a decade away, they might be 5 years away from using those particular products. The kids who are currently 8 years of age, by the time they're 15, they would be using smartphones at the least. And that is a huge chunk that has seen the world as it is now, which is digitally enabled. And yet we're talking about floppy disks. So, you know, God help us. Shahryat, what do you think should be the approach for overcoming these challenges that we have?
I'll speak for agriculture transformation, since I'm into that business only.
Yes.
Our farmers should be educated about the latest trends in agriculture, which are being carried out in the West, and even if you are not being able to go towards the West, we should at least look at the Far East side. Their farming is mechanized, so farms should be mechanized by the landowners who have like thousands of acres of land, because these indeed are not economical; they are very expensive. Secondly, farmers should be educated about the latest trends, and they should know, and they should be able to accept the change. That is coming from our previous discussion. Change has to be put up there for the agriculturists from top to bottom, and that is it. That is the only way to counter all these food problems and issues through which these agriculturists are going through, due to which everyone faces the problem, right from top to bottom in the population, in our population, the people.
I think I completely agree with you, Shahryat. And if you would, you know, if I would like to add here is that for the agricultural community, I think there's also a lack of just, you know, sitting down together and conversing on all the tools that are available, and just not making it only about a business profitability, but also looking at the sustainability side of things. If one organization is coming across with good tools that are helping these farmers out, why can't there be widespread convergence and collaboration on getting those tools across? And you know, that is something that then creates wider economic growth. And maybe we need some kind of a mediator to come in and present these policies and make sure that, you know, these tools are readily available. I think as a country we need to focus so much more on sustainable development, looking at convergence. Ahmed, do you agree? Mohammad, do you agree? Sorry, with this.
Yeah, totally. I think look, like you were just saying, like Shahryat just said, Yousaf just said earlier, and Sajjad, education mindset are the biggest limitations or the biggest prohibition to change, right? If Shahryar just talked about his sector, Yousaf talked about travel. Let me talk about my fintech space. Yeah, I know that for example, within, I mean, not just Pakistan, but across the globe, they're talking about bringing in regulations. US have done it. Small countries like Malta benefited 4 years ago in the middle of the rise of this. Yeah. But for example, in Pakistan, what we're talking about is that the High Court has instructed the state bank to make regulations for crypto. You can't put the cat in charge of the milk and then say, please do something, because it's contradictory.
Yes.
Like, it's contradictory, yeah? Like, the FBR have to be involved. But again, look, crypto and fintech is a revolution, yeah? So when the revolution happens, the initial revolution cannot be legalized. You have to let it erupt. You have to let it explode. And then you say, okay, Jalal, this has happened. Let's try and regulate this. Let's try and license this. Let's try and process this, yeah? But you can't go to the chief of police and say, okay, this guy's a criminal. What's he going to say? He's going to say, put him in jail and give him some lashings as well on top. You have to have the right people, like what we've always proposed, and I say it again, is that have a fintech association. Bring in professionals that have done it. We did an ICO. There's many other individuals I know. Listen, I could tell you, Noor, that they're the biggest global fintech players, like the likes of Binance and other companies. Yeah, these would love to be in Pakistan, because the reason why is because the Pakistani population are risk takers. They know what crypto is, and let's not be offended. We like to get rich quick. Okay, so when you mix all of that together, it means that we have an amazing economy and amazing opportunity, right? We're missing this. We're missing this whole revolution of fintech. And what's going to happen is the UK will start regulation within the next year. The US will start regulation within the next year or so. Dubai is already, since we opened the doors in Dubai, Dubai is now becoming a fintech hub in the Middle East.
Correct.
And what's happened? Pakistan will probably do it 5 years later when we get some change within the right departments, and we would have missed all the opportunity we have. So again, when you talk about education mindset, right, we have to have this value that, those days of up conductors, there's a guy at the desk and you have to go and beg him and grab his legs and say, sir, please, I need this. We have to get past that, because if we don't get past that, change is not going to happen. And those people have done a fantastic job till now in some capacity, but we need to either update them or reprogram them or change them.
Yeah, I am sure that's going to happen as soon as we are done digitizing the voting for international Pakistanis to vote. As soon as we are done with that, we'll be on the right track.
On the prohibited list for Pakistan, by the way. This is just general comments. I don't want to have no entry problems. I do love my country.
No, but I guess just on a lighter note, I think the fact that yes, we need a fintech association. Kamal is on the call. I don't know. It should be a first mover advantage for anybody who wants to take that idea forward. And that.
But there has to be a government participation for that to happen.
Absolutely.
I could, Sajjad and I could grab Yousaf and the panel here, Ammar and Shahryat. We could form the association right now. We could do a breakthrough on this summit. We are now the Fintech Association, and we have our views and we have our opinions, and we're all leading in our ways. But if there's no one to listen, then we're just banging our heads against each other's, because look, the state bank is doing fantastic things, right? We have some kind of movement, right? But they can't develop it from within. It can't be developed within FBR.
Absolutely.
They've not dealt with this beast. I was in the chat show, and he said, "Ye kis bala ka naam hai?" And it is the right word. He said the bala. Look, these entities don't know what this animal is. So
yes, that's true.
If someone can identify to let us help you, and we're not charging. You know, I was involved with the crypto committee in the Northwest Frontier Province, right? And we and you know, I drafted with my legal team and with the guys, we drafted the complete set of legislation, yeah. And what happens? You know, someone resigns, and then it all falls away, and all that work goes completely to waste. It has to be that you know, when you talk about mindset, the mindset has to be that yes, we want to implement change. Let's bring the right people in. And I tell you, there are thousands of Pakistanis in the world that are super intelligent and super dedicated to their country that will give their time for free to help and evolve change.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Can I get an honorary in on the Fintech Association as well, just to create a little bit of diversity?
You will be the chair, because I think that you did this panel today with a fantastic set of questions. I've done many panels, and your questions have been really, really, really good. So I think, guys, if we agree, she should be the chairperson of the Fintech Association.
Absolutely.
Well, there we go. That's one less thing we have to do on Monday. All right, Ammar, final thoughts from you. And I think we're a little bit over time, but I hope the CXO team would not mind us going a little bit over time.
So final statement is that, you know, we see that, you know, leaders treat the transformation as separate element of their business. So that's your business, that's transformation. No, it's the same thing. And you know, it is just a potential better way of doing business, right? So when, you know, so if you're a sweet shop in Lahore and you say we are now digital, you will not be selling your sweets to Mars. It will be still the same thing, still the same people eating your sweets. So it's not separate. And these buzzwords, AI, machine learning, and all that, let's keep the buzzwords away, and let's use technology to make the business better. The delivery of service should be better. In the end, it's a delivery of service that should be better, right? Let's forget about technology. It is just the enabler, you know, like Sajjad said. And second thing is that we should understand that if you want to go digital, you should be omni-channel. So if I buy your sneakers on your website, and if I want to return the sneakers to your store, I should be able to do so.
Yeah.
Without someone telling me, sir, please go back to the website, fill the form again, and say, I want to return, you know, the sneakers. That just doesn't make sense, right? So it should be end to end, and we as leaders must understand that it is just a better way of doing business and better way of, let's say, selling your things to the customers. It's better for them, better for you. That's all it is. That's all what it is. That's it.
Great. No, thank you so much, gentlemen. I think this has been a fantastic panel. I enjoyed a lot. I learned a lot of new things as well. So with that, let me just close as well and thank all of you. So Ibrahim, the founder at 1 Gram and CEO of Gold Guard. Ibrahim, thank you so much. And we will definitely act on the association as well. Ammar AKhtar, the CEO and founder of FinalRentals from UAE. Yousaf, Rizvi, the CEO and founder of Checkin Pakistan. Sajjad, Ahmed, the CIO at International SOS. And Shahryat, Brohi, the CEO of Brohi France. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time this evening. Over to the CXO team now.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.